Chapter 3 Oliver the Miner. Ding, ding, ding. The dark tunnel was filled with the clanging of metal and stone. A short boy, barely a teenager, was alone in the darkness. He wore a dark gray steel hard hat with a big, bright flashlight on the front. His mouth and nose were covered by a simple gas mask, while his green eyes were protected by dusty goggles. Under the thick gray material of his long-sleeved shirt, the boy's muscles bulged as he swung the pickaxe in his hands. He was wearing black suspenders to hold up his slightly baggy gray pants. Finally, he wore thick steel-toed boots on his feet that looked a little too big for his small size. That he was humming. He was humming. As he hummed, as he hummed an ancient mining folk song, his voice echoed throughout the deep tunnels, along. Oh God! Along with the constant clanging noises. Occasionally, it was possible to hear other voices in the distance, both men and women. These tunnels have been mined for centuries and run all throughout Greenstone Mountain. Verde Village alone has 3 different tunnel entrances nearby. Oliver, be careful. The boy stopped for a moment as he looked around. He quickly backed away from the cracked wall and picked up a thick sack off the ground. After slowly moving away for a few meters, the ground shook violently and the ceiling collapsed. A bunch of huge rocks completely blocked off the tunnel in front of him. Thanks, Mom. Oliver giggled and didn't seem fazed at all. He looked over and saw 2 spectral figures in similar mining gear smiling at him before disappearing. Then he looked back at the collapsed rocks. Sweet! There were dozens of small greenish crystals attached to brown stones that seemed to glow in the darkness. Of course, when he faced them with his shiny flashlight, they looked more yellowish, but still very beautiful. The boy put away his pick and pulled out a hammer, along with a chisel. As he chiseled away at the stones below the yellowish-green crystals, lots of dust was knocked up into the air, making it a little harder to breathe, even with his gas mask. Oliver coughed violently from time to time, but never stopped working. Soon, every single crystal had only a very small piece of brown rock attached. There were also quite a few broken pieces just laying around on the ground that were knocked off when the ceiling collapsed. So he quickly picked them up and put everything in his sturdy black backpack. Along with the bag full of other minerals, crystals, and ore, Oliver had to carry nearly 100 kilos with his small body. No matter how strong he was, it was still pretty difficult to bear. Fortunately, he wasn't in a rush to leave or escape. Due to his height of only 140 centimeters, the 150 centimeter tall ceiling of the tunnel was high enough that he could walk around freely, unlike the adults who usually had to crouch or hunch over all the time. Ah! Hell! Exclamation point. As he walked. Oh God. It looks better when it's written out, I think. As he walked through the dark tunnels, he made a few turns and could hear screaming, crying, and yelling in the distance. That's what that was supposed to be. Clearly, the cave-in didn't only affect him, but there really wasn't much he could do to help anyone. There have been plenty of young, inexperienced miners that were lured into traps in the past. Fortunately, he was guided by his parents when he first started out. Even now, they still guided him along the somewhat unfamiliar path, appearing as glowing green phantoms in the distance from time to time. "Help me. Please, don't leave me." Oliver looked over at a pile of rocks nearby and sighed. "I'm sorry. I know it's scary to be alone, but I'm only a minor." "Please, no. Don't leave me." "Damn you, come back. Come back here, you heartless bastard. Dig me out. Save me." "I can't save you. You gotta do that yourself." The boy shook his head and kept walking without looking back. There wasn't even a skeleton or a single bone fragment visible. Not even a glowing green ghost, just a disembodied voice of an angry spirit. Or perhaps it was just a hallucination. He's humming again. I don't remember. I don't remember what I wrote about what the song sounded like. It's probably copyright infringement if I hummed it for real, though. Anyway, Oliver started humming again as he saw some light shining in from a small hole in the distance. It was a tight squeeze, even for a child, but he first pushed out his backpack, tools, and finally his big sack full of heavy rocks. Then he crawled outside, and into a lush forest. Grumble. His stomach's grumbling, I think. Looking up at the sky, it was actually midday. He entered the mine around midnight. His stomach started groaning again as he took off his mask, revealing his cute and childish face. The deathly pale skin contrasted against the thick gray dust on the sides of his face. He took off his worn-out gloves and then removed his hard hat, turning off the bright light on the front. Oliver's short hair still had a little bit of black and gray, but it was already going white. Bye, Mom and Dad. I spelled bye wrong. I spelled it B-Y instead of B-Y-E. When you spell bye in that way, it's B-Y-E. I'm pretty sure. Bye, Mom and Dad. I'll see you again soon. He waved at the glowing figures in the distant darkness and smiled at them, revealing his white teeth. After he put away his hat, mask, goggles, and gloves into a satchel with the rest of his tools, he picked up a bag in each hand with a pack on his back, then started trudging through the woods. That sentence is a little too run-on, but I guess it's fine. When you're reading it with your eyes, it's not that bad, but when you're trying to say it out loud, it's not that great. Even though he was a few kilometers from Verde Village, he was still able to find his way pretty easily by following a familiar stream. There were also markings on large stones to give the locals directions. I think I went the wrong way. Half an hour later, Oliver was standing in the middle of a village. At least it was probably a village at some point in the distant past. Some old stone buildings were overgrown by vines and covered in green moss. There were also a lot of brick roads to flat, rocky areas that might have been foundations of different small houses. Oh, nice! Over the years, other people likely found this place and took away everything of value on the surface, but for Oliver, there were actually quite a few interesting treasures left behind. He put down his bags, took out a small shovel, and started digging near the center of the village. Pretty soon, he found a shiny golden coin. Shiny gold coin? Yeah, shiny gold coin. Because it's a gold coin, specifically, not just a coin that is golden in color. So, a gold coin, like using the word gold specifically instead of golden, would imply that it's literally gold. Is this real gold? ? Wow. He didn't say ? Okay. Is this real gold? Wow. Ha ha ha. I wonder how old it is. Would it be worth more as a collectible or in raw materials? I'll ask Grandpa later. In order to avoid damaging the surface and devaluing the coin, he put it in a special pocket on the side of his backpack. Digging around for a while and searching inside the ruined buildings, he managed to find a few more gold and silver coins, though the silver was really tarnished. There were also some green copper coins that were extremely corroded. Some of the buildings also had old copper pipes inside. There were also some underground, but he didn't think they'd be worth much or worth the trouble of harvesting. This might be worth something too. Kinda heavy though. Finally, he found a greenstone statue. He wiped off the moss, and the actual material was more like white marble. Although the woman seemed pretty good looking, the expression on her face was a little scary, as if she was glaring at Oliver with hatred and disgust. Her mouth was open as if she was saying something. Okay, that's the end of the chapter. Whew. I am proofreading, by the way. I am not simply reading. I'll write that in the description. But yeah, this is a proofreading of this chapter. That's what I'm doing. Chapter 3 of The Cursed Words, Greenstone. A book that I wrote a year ago and edited several times since then. But I'm going to be publishing it soon, so I'm making sure that it doesn't have any like very noticeable errors. Yeah. I'm also kind of sort of testing my ability to read something to I don't know. I don't think I'm ever going to be doing any audiobooks, but it could be an option theoretically if I can get a lot of practice. But so I guess this is practice. It's just recorded, so it's even more embarrassing when I fail horribly. But on the positive side, I don't know, it feels more productive that I'm making a recording out of it instead of just doing it. Hopefully not many people will see this because it is somewhat embarrassing, but for anyone who is watching this video and thinking, oh, hey, that sounds like an interesting book. an interesting book written by a completely normal person who would do something like reading it on YouTube for the world to see. Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. Like, the me of the past did a pretty good job writing it, I think. I did make some questionable choices with the way I wrote dialogue. There's not a lot of he said, she said stuff. It was at a point where I felt like it would be more efficient and effective to write dialogue as if it's, you know, like, you can kind of sort of, not kind of sort of, you can definitely figure out who's talking based on the subtext and the context clues and stuff. However, I vastly overestimated people's ability to do that, and after I like posted it on some sites in the past, it didn't do very well. People did complain about that specific thing, and like people I showed it to said, I can't tell who's talking. Just looks like gibberish. Personally, I agree. I should have, well, at the time, okay, at the time I hadn't posted anything for other people, or if I did, nobody was commenting on it. Nobody was like telling me, hey, don't do that thing. It doesn't make any sense to normal people, to everyone else except for you. And that's very important for authors, if you're an aspiring author, it's important to have your work reviewed by random strangers on the internet who don't care about hurting your feelings, because they will tell you, they will pick at even the tiniest little things that you did by accident or things you did intentionally. They'll pick at them, and you have to correct them even though they don't understand what you're saying, which is kind of silly. And then you realize, oh wait, this person is just trolling me, or English is like their fifth language and they don't actually understand the language they're trying to correct you in, which oops. But that's fine. I've done that before too. Well, I only speak English. So I don't correct people in other languages, but I have corrected people, and then immediately afterwards felt bad because they say, "Oh, sorry, English isn't my first language," and I'm like, "Oh, well then, that is impressive that you did so well. Like seriously, I can't even imagine being that good at another language, that I could write a story this beautiful in that other language." Either that or they just used Google Translate and there were some minor errors that didn't translate well. I mean, we've all been there and done that. Either way, um, somehow I somehow I turned this into a 16, almost 17-minute video. I did not think I was that slow at reading, or I've just been rambling for 5 minutes. Either way, that's about it. Thank you for watching and listening, I guess. Or I guess the only people that are probably going to watch this are like my friends and or family members that I'm going to share it with. And they probably won't even watch the entire thing. So I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing this. But bye. Thanks for watching. That's it.